Namaste, everyone, and I welcome you to another engaging conversation on our GCC Conclave platform. The rise of complex and interconnected business environments and the need for agile decision-making and innovation has propelled the one organization, one team model into prominence. This was one of the key conversations at our recently concluded GCC Conclave. According to a study by Harvard Business Review, which found that 71% of executives believe that breaking down silos and fostering collaboration significantly improve the organization's overall performance. These organizations reported that they have implemented or are in the process of implementing a more cross-functional and collaborative approach. By embracing this model, organizations can leverage their employees' diverse skills and expertise, enhance communications, and also achieve higher efficiency and productivity. And building on this, today our conversation is all about one organization, the one team model. A few of our GCCs in India are leading the pack in terms of implementing this model effectively through the length and breadth of the organization. And today we have with us one such GCC which has successfully imbibed this into the DNA of their organization. Before we actually deep dive into this conversation on their journey and into their key capabilities and also their future plans, let me all introduce you to the gentleman who has been spearheading this change at Centific and also secured a table for strategic decision making within Centific as such. Ladies and gentlemen, today I have with me Narayana Murthy, Country Head Centific. Welcome, Narayan.
Thank you, Sandeep. Thank you.
So before we go into the conversation, here is a quick introduction. Narayan and I had a brief catch up with him, got to know different facets about him. One is about him having 3 decades of experience at Centific. Beyond that, he's been right from a very early age been involved in the area of acting, dramatics, right from school, college level. He was also telling me that he's been an avid screenwriter, and had he not been with Centific, he would have been actually writing scripts.
Absolutely.
For movies. So
thank you, Sandeep. I think we share the same common theme.
Absolutely. And interestingly, so also is the industry's gain is also one industry's loss as far as the movie making industry is concerned. He's a big fan of CSK, and he's still basking in the glory of CSK winning. And he was sharing little anecdotes about leadership, which he so believes in, not only within the team, the leader of CSK as such, but also within his own journey within Centific on how he's actually putting this into play in terms of grooming young talent and also mentoring them, hand-holding them through the entire journey. And there have been some fantastic learnings in terms of this conversation, which we will also bring through the course of this quick conversation here. So another welcome from us, and I hope that was a real apt introduction. I hope I've covered all the facets in what you've done. If in case I've missed out anything, please do let us know.
Absolutely, Chandra. It's fantastic. So let me give a little bit of introduction about our organization first. Sure. So we have rebranded ourselves as Centific from Pactora Edge. So we believe in human in the loop concept, right? So therefore, we derived the Cent basically from the Centennials, and then we being AI-centric organization. So therefore, we combined all that, and then it took us about 3 months of design thinking workshop to derive at this name, and finally we are rebranding ourselves as Centific.
Brilliant. That's a great way to look at the identity of the organization. It's a lovely story as such.
Thank you.
So let's deep dive into the questions, and we have a host of questions, and we'll try and cover different facets of one team, one organization. So the first question is all about efficiency and productivity. It's also from a Centific side. How has the adoption of the one team and one organization model actually worked in improving your overall efficiency, productivity, and especially because you're also working different geographies across distributed teams? So over to you.
Absolutely. So if you look at the typical barriers that you would see in any global organization, so there are I define them as three different barriers. One is the physical barrier, cultural barrier, a time zone barrier. So this is typically what you'll find, especially for the organizations which are geographically spread. So for us, we actually went through several design thinking workshops while actually renaming our company. And we came out with a concept, what we called it as field of play, which is, that's what we adopted as internal name, but actually it follows the same one organization, one team concept. So what we do is, if you consider the entire organization is one circle, we also have a lot of smaller circles we call it as field of play inside.
Okay.
So everybody in the organization, along with their current responsibility, also fits into the kind of a smaller circle. So that circle consists of a cross-functional team.
Okay.
So that is how we actually adopted the model, and then actually it works fantastic for us right now. So we are into the 8th month of inception of this particular concept. We already started seeing great results.
Brilliant. So just building on that question, you've talked about adopting this. Now let's talk about the implementations. And when you were actually going and implementing this to the length and breadth of your organization, what were your learnings and what is your advice to other organizations which are also looking at adopting this and trying to take this to the length and breadth of the organization, and also how do they maximize the business value by implementing this?
Absolutely. So see, first and foremost thing is this is like a cultural shock to many organizations, right? So we have to go through a lot of change management process. So when we initially started this particular concept, we had to go back to the drawing board and forget about what we have been doing so far, and then we said, how is that the organization need to look like into the future? So we had to completely come out with a new way of looking at the organization. So one big thing what we have realized is we have to forget about the past and then start looking at your future in a different way. So that's the first thing that people should be using. So it's like a complete cultural shift in the organization. And second concept is we need to be extremely collaborative with our own internal teams.
Okay.
More, just like we are collaborative with the customers, also we should be collaborative internally as well.
Brilliant. So I'll ask you more about the collaboration
Right.
immediately here. So that was my next leading question, is about collaboration. Sorry. When we go through this whole paradigm shift in building this entire new approach, as you mentioned, in terms of forgetting the past and going through a complete transition, looking at the organization differently, one organization, one team, how does it distinctly diverge from conventional hierarchy structures that you've already got into place, and reshaping the teams in terms of collaboration and operating within the organization? What are your learnings from there?
Absolutely. I'll give a small example and then run you through the example. Let's say if you take a sales team within the organization. So they typically bring the customers onto the table, and then you have the marketing team before that, which runs the campaigns, identify the prospect, and then do all that and then give it to the sales team. And then you have the pre-sales team and the delivery teams which take the customer and then nurture the customer and then deliver the programs, right? So each of these teams individually have different goals. The sales team has a different target, marketing team has a different target, and delivery teams have a different target. But the moment we became a one field of play, we all become a single unit within the organization. So everybody within that is actually has got a common goal.
Okay.
Right? So the marketing team, the sales team, the delivery team, everybody has a common goal. So then what happens, the biggest advantage of this kind of a structure is everybody looks at the end result in the same way. So for example, when we adopted this particular model, the sales team started looking at delivery much more closer than they were doing it before. And the delivery team started looking at the sales team much closer than they were before. And similarly, the marketing team and rest of the teams. So what we found out is it actually enhanced the collaboration much better. It also improved a lot of our innovation and the way we actually provide the quality services to our customers as a single unit, as a single team. So this is the biggest advantage that we have seen in this particular structure.
Right. So we've actually gone and traversed through the journey of looking at looking at the entire structure differently, the hierarchy, the collaboration. And let's go into the transformative changes within the organization. Let's look at it from the benefits that this entire adoption that it actually entails for organizations, and the challenges, the pitfalls that organizations also need to keep their eyes open for. And this is based upon your learning in your journey as such.
See, one biggest advantage that comes onto the table is the transparency. So it brings extreme transparency within the teams and within the organization. So that is the biggest advantage that we have seen as a company. And second thing is the excellent collaboration. Everybody, entire team actually starts looking at the customer in the same way, right? That is the biggest advantage that we have seen. But previously, if you look at the hierarchical organization, the sales team is actually more worried about the customer. And then not so. Delivery team basically focuses on, okay, how am I delivering and how am I looking at things like. But now we also started looking at how do you nurture this customer, right? How can I upsell and cross-sell to this customer? So there's entire paradigm shift in the entire organization, the way we look at the customers, right? That's the value that we add to the customer at the end of the day. So that is one of the biggest advantages that we have seen as a company. Now, for any company that wants to adopt to this particular model, first thing what I recommend is to have a very strong change management team internally.
Okay.
So we need to go through the change management process and make sure that the organization goals are properly defined and aligned towards the teams, so that everybody starts looking at the goal in the same way and then start contributing to the organization and to the customer at the end of the day.
Excellent, excellent. And you briefly touched about on the word innovation. And when we look at nurturing innovation and creativity in any organization is vital for its own growth and success. Now, when you actually look at the whole new model that you were working at, you're looking at, how does this actually foster a culture of innovation, creativity, igniting new ideas, bringing new ideas to the table, and also driving more forward-looking solutions within an organization. What have you seen emerging as?
Right. So previously, the hierarchical organization, typically what would happen is different units are within their own boundaries and start looking at things in their own way. But now when you bring the entire organization together, all the teams together, because of the collaboration, there is going to be much more focus on the end result as a single team. So therefore, if there is any roadblock or if any innovation or if something needs to be done, basically everybody comes together and then tries to solve that particular problem.
Right.
So previously, if 2-3 heads were talking about a particular solution, now you have a team of people sitting together, thinking through it, and then working through a solution to the customer. Now, you may succeed in the first case or you may not succeed, but you take the learnings, and then when you go ahead with the next customer or the next opportunity, you take the learnings and then see to adopt to that, and then make sure that you make that continuous improvement your own internal process,
Right.
so that you achieve you provide the end result to the customers. So that is how we saw much more broader teams coming together, participating right from day one into the entire customer onboarding process.
Awesome.
So
I have a final question here, and I'm just taking it into a different dimension. When we have talked about trying to fuse this new thinking, two buzzwords that come into my mind in today's day and time is all about agility and adaptability.
Right.
Now, you briefly touched upon being fast and being able to get to market quicker. Now, you're actually living this dream.
Right.
How much has it had made a difference to you in terms of adaptability and agility? And also, what would you also share with organizations from your learning in terms of these two keywords?
Absolutely. See, when we talk about agility, in the previous hierarchical organization, what happens is, typically, I'll take the sales process. So the sales team talks to the customer, for example, and then the customer could be sitting in a different time zone, right, which may not be suitable for the the other times. Like for example, in India, we are sitting here, right, and then we have to stay either late or we have to stay early, depending on where the customer is. So if the customer is in the Asia Pacific, then the US team needs to stay late, right? So therefore, we used to have all these barriers in the past. Now with one team culture or one organization, one team culture, what we have seen is the learning of each team is actually much better than what it used to be before. So because now the sales team is also participating in the delivery process, the delivery team is also participating in the sales process, you would actually see the entire team, the sales team can deliver and the delivery team can sell. So that's the kind of model that we have come to. So therefore, one biggest advantage what I see is if the time zone doesn't match to a particular team, the other team would scale up and then do that for the other team, and then vice versa. So this is something that we have seen as the biggest the advantage in the current model.
Excellent. I think we've come to the fag end of the conversation, and it's been really interesting and inspiring. And for me, it's a huge learning, Narayan. Today, from when you actually look at it from the aspect of a complete seismic shift in thinking, I will kind of quantify it as getting an organization right from the sales team to the finance team to even the HR team to be singing from the same hymn sheet, and
Absolutely.
that's a Herculean task. And it's so heartwarming to hear the words resonating in from Centific in terms of the work you've done, in terms of collaboration, in terms of agility, in terms of innovation and creativity. And I'm sure there are multiple such stories that also emerge from the organization repetitively. And also, I love the way you actually shape the conversation and using terminology in terms of the field of play, to even talking about forgetting the past and looking at a complete cultural shift in mindset, and also the big learning for organizations into having a complete relook at change management. Because if you actually go through and move the system from one particular way or style of working to another style of working, you really need to also think about and plan that. And it's pretty interesting to have these anecdotes shared in your journey. And I'm sure there's a lot of pickup coming in from the GCCs, and I'm sure this will become a conversation as we go along in this journey. Awesome to have you on board, and really thank you for your time. And it was fantastic to have you on this GCC platform. Once again, a big thank you. And also a big thank you to our audiences for tuning in and patiently hearing the conversation. It's important for us to have your feedback. Please do keep sending us your feedback at events@nasscom.in. Let us know what you like to hear. Also let us know how did the conversation go. More importantly, this conversation will reside on a NASSCOM YouTube channel, so do click into our NASSCOM YouTube channel, keep the learning going, and more importantly is stay tuned in, and we hope you have a lovely day ahead of you as well as a happy learning time, and we'll come back with more content with you soon. Thank you so much. Bye for now.
Thank you very much.